Hey guys, the world of high-horsepower drag racing has always danced on a razor's edge between triumph and disaster. That line was on full display when YouTube star, racer, and Street Outlaws regular Cleetus McFarland experienced a frightening fire in his brand new race car only moments after the machine laid down some of its most promising numbers yet. What was supposed to be the triumphant debut of Mullet 2.0, the fully rebuilt, long-awaited evolution of one of McFarland's most famous machines, instead ended with flames licking the engine bay, fire suppression bottles being pulled in a panic, and a once pristine engine compartment suddenly charred and oil-soaked. This wasn't simply another mechanical hiccup. It was a scary reminder of the risks this team accepts every time they strap into over 2,000 horsepower drag car. And it came just as the team seemed poised to celebrate a nearly flawless test session. For longtime fans, the reveal of Mullet 2.0 was as symbolic as it was exciting. Exactly 1 year after debuting the original Mullet in its soaring, record-breaking glory, McFarland and his crew finally rolled out the totally revamped version. Built again with the expertise of Cameron Johnson and fitted with improvements from nose to tail, stronger chassis, refined suspension geometry, updated supporting components. The car represented years of evolution in the McFarland race program. Same legendary big block. Same turbo 400. Same brute personality. But everything else? Smarter, stronger, meaner, and optimized to chase 6-second quarter-mile passes with more consistency and control. And the night delivered, at first. Fans and crew alike buzzed as testing runs built speed and confidence. Shakedowns progressed from short launches to full hits. Incremental improvements stacked up, 60-foot times dropped. The car began building boost smoothly, and the once finicky spool behavior cleaned up. The crew cheered like a championship team as each new slip verified that the setup was working. It all built toward that final test pass, where Mullet rocketed to a killer 4.54 in the 8th mile at 160 miles per hour. A blistering hit that showed the car was finally coming alive. Seconds later, the celebration turned to panic. As the car coasted after the run, the vibe on the return road was pure adrenaline and relief. Until suddenly, the calm shattered. "He's on fire. He doesn't even know it," someone shouted as flames flashed from the engine bay. Oil, heat, methanol residue. A nightmare combination. In a breath, excitement became emergency. Crew members sprinted toward the car, yelling for McFarland to pull his tether and dump the onboard fire system. Confusion crackled over the radio as they tried to determine which pull handle triggered the cabin system versus the engine bay suppression. "Pull both," someone shouted. A moment of pure urgency as smoke thickened and orange flame licked the headers and intake valley. Thankfully, training kicked in. Bottles discharged. Fire smothered. The blaze choked out before feeding on fuel lines or igniting pooled oil beneath the intake. In many similar situations, race cars have burned to nothing in seconds. Mullet came dangerously close, but not this time. As smoke cleared and the team stood over the scorched engine, one thing became clear: they were shaken, but they were lucky. The initial diagnosis pointed toward oil escaping near the bottom of the intake manifold, a known sealing gremlin on high-output big block engines like Mullet's. Once the oil hit the superheated turbo and headers, ignition was almost instant. The crew noted. Oil sprayed near the turbo and down the valley. Flames concentrated around the midplate and fuel lines. A fuel-fitting seal had begun melting from the heat. Oil pooling in the engine valley likely accelerated ignition. The timing could not have been worse, right after a hero pass, right before coast-down safety decreases airflow, and right when everyone was most relaxed. A fire here, in many other cars, would have been a total loss scenario. For Mullet, fast action and fire suppression likely saved tens of thousands of dollars, and possibly prevented injuries. Visually, the damage looked dramatic: soot-blackened intake, charred wiring sections, oil coating everything. But the crew quickly realized the fire hadn't penetrated deep into vital systems. Fuel lines got hot but didn't fail. Wiring could be replaced. The fresh paint? Well, maybe it was a blessing they hadn't finished the final cosmetic work yet. "I'm just glad we didn't paint the car," McFarland quipped, trying to lighten the mood as they surveyed damage. Humor didn't hide the emotion, though. The brand new car lasted only a handful of passes before a near catastrophe. Still, the message was clear. This wasn't failure. This was racing. "This engine has had this issue before," McFarland reminded viewers. "When you blow oil all over a hot big block, sometimes it ignites." And yet, even in a cloud of fire-retardant dust and adrenaline, the crew remained optimistic. The testing data was gold. The performance proved the car's potential. And the fire system, expensive, complex, sometimes overlooked equipment, did its job flawlessly. Drag racing has always carried risk. But today's turbo monster builds over 3,000 horsepower, alcohol fuel, exposed plumbing and turbo housings glowing orange. Push that line razor thin. These machines don't tolerate mistakes or weak links. A clamp loosens, a gasket weeps, a metal line fractures, and the consequences are real. Fans see the victory passes, the record boards, the giant burnouts. But moments like this remind everyone, race cars don't care about pride or momentum or how many hours the welders and fabricators just put in. They operate on physics, pressure, and heat. And heat always wins if you give it the chance. Even in the chaos, Cleetus and the crew kept perspective. "Lots of people lose their whole car to a fire," one team member said, shaking his head as flames smoldered out. "We're lucky. Lucky that the fire bottles were armed. Lucky that the car wasn't engulfed. Lucky the driver was safe. Lucky, too, that this happened in testing rather than eliminations at a national event." There was frustration, disappointment. After all, the car had just proven it was capable of the numbers they dreamed about. But the grief was matched with gratitude and defiance. They'd rebuild. They'd reseal the intake. They'd replace hoses and wiring. They'd return. And they had data no broken engine or burned loom could ever erase. The fire happened just ahead of the World Cup finals, one of the toughest import versus domestic shootouts on Earth. The timeline is tight. Repairs will take long nights and a lot of fresh fittings, harness wrap, and elbow grease. But no one in that camp is backing down. "We'll fix it and be back," McFarland said firmly. Mullet 2.0 is an absolute unit. This thing will be better from here. The final mood? Humble. Determined. Fired up. Figuratively, not literally. Because in racing, especially at the level where 160 miles per hour 8th mile runs are considered a good start, resilience is the most powerful fuel there is. In a way, the story of Mullet 2.0's debut feels fitting. Blazing speed, a dramatic setback, a near disaster avoided by teamwork and preparation, and a comeback already in motion. The fire charred the aluminum, singed the wiring, but it only strengthened the resolve. Street Outlaws fans, Cleetus Nation followers, and horsepower junkies everywhere know the truth. Legends aren't built from clean victories alone. They're forged in smoke, stress, and sometimes literal flame. Mullet 2.0 isn't just alive. It's christened, Trial by Fire. And when it rolls back to the line next time, fans will cheer not just for speed, but for the story that got it there. Despite the chaos, fans couldn't help but feel a surge of pride watching the crew rally in real time. There was no finger-pointing, no panic spiral, no sense of defeat, just professionals and lifelong racers attacking a problem head-on. That mentality is why the McFarland team has earned respect in not only the YouTube world, but the hardcore drag racing community as well. They don't just post highlight reels, they show the gritty reality. And this moment, fire extinguishers spraying, hoses hanging, hearts pounding, was as real as it gets in motorsports. In many ways, this incident underscores the maturity the team has developed over years of trial and error. Early Cleetus videos were built on raw enthusiasm and adrenaline. Today, they are seasoned veterans of the sport. The response to this fire wasn't frantic, it was calculated, coordinated, and calm under pressure. When a driver sits trapped behind a steel firewall while flames lick inches from fuel lines, control and composure are what matter most. And that discipline saved a new car from a much worse fate. Seeing the charred intake and burned insulation might sting, but the long view says this is a small speed bump. The chassis didn't warp. The body survived untouched. The tune-up gathered valuable data. And most importantly, the fire never reached the fuel system in a catastrophic way. Any racer will tell you, parts can be replaced, knowledge and reflexes are earned through nights like these. Mullet 2.0's scars will be a reminder of that truth every time the hood is opened. Even still, there's an emotional toll to a setback like this. Anyone who's ever built a machine from scratch, whether it's a race car, motorcycle, or old shop truck, knows the heartbreak of watching something so meticulously assembled suffer damage before it's even had the chance to shine. The crew poured hundreds of hours into fabrication, setup, wiring, balancing, and tuning. The pride in the debut was palpable. To see that shiny aluminum go black around the edges hurt. You could see it in their eyes. But you could also see resolve. What stands out most about the McFarland camp is their refusal to lean on excuses. They didn't blame parts suppliers, track prep, or luck. They didn't dramatize it beyond reality. They simply acknowledged the nature of pushing limits at the edge of engineering. Big power reveals little weaknesses. Every fire, every broken axle, every blown gasket is a lesson. And on this team, lessons are fuel for growth, not reasons to step back. Fans tuning into the footage could feel that energy shift from shock to strategy. Within minutes, talk had already moved from cleanup to planning. They weren't asking if the car would be ready, they were figuring out how it would be ready, and who needed to grab a wrench first. That relentless forward motion is what keeps viewers invested. With every build and rebuild, McFarland Racing proves this isn't content for clicks, it's passion for competition. The timing of the fire adds pressure, but it also adds narrative weight to what happens next. The World Cup Finals isn't just another event, it's a proving ground stacked with the fastest machines on the planet. And now, Mullet 2.0 isn't arriving as the polished newcomer with hype behind it. It's showing up as the car that survived a trial by flame. That story arc has power, and fans will tune in not just to see it run, but to cheer for its comeback. There's a certain poetry in the fact that fire marked Mullet's rebirth. In car culture, machines often take on personalities, mythos, even nicknames that stick for life. Mullet 2.0 isn't just another build, it's the Phoenix-era version of a fan-favorite legend. It came out swinging, showed its teeth with jaw-dropping performance, and then proved its spirit by surviving what could have been a fatal incident. When it lines up next, the roar from the stands, and the roar from the car, will mean more than any dyno sheet ever could. Ultimately, this moment reinforces why people connect with this team so strongly. It's not perfection that inspires, it's resilience. It's the willingness to risk destruction in pursuit of speed, the transparency to show setbacks instead of hiding them, and the confidence to come back stronger. Mullet 2.0 may smell faintly of fire suppressant for a few weeks, but as soon as those slicks heat up again, no one will be thinking about what burned. They'll be watching what flies. And if the debut passes were any indication, what flies next might just be a record.